everybody. This is Mary Brown,
And I'm Dax Carlisle.
and we are bringing you this very special episode of the Tarot Today radio show. Tarot Today radio is sponsored by the Tarot Guild.
And we've got the fabulous Radleigh Valentine.
It's going to be amazing. This was a lovely interview with the fabulous Radleigh Valentine, talking about his work and so many fascinating things.
So many decks. Oh my gosh.
So many decks, so many, and just really, I think you guys are really going to enjoy this special presentation. So sit back, relax, and turn your ears on.
Here we go. Okay, top Hay House author and prolific deck creator, Radleigh Valentine himself. He's right here. Hey, Rad.
Hey, Dax, how are you?
Great. This is fantastic to have you back on the air. You know, you probably don't even remember, but we did an interview. God, we're dating ourselves. Many years ago. I think it was on our Angels Monday show on the network way back in the day.
No, I actually do remember doing that.
Yeah, you had just come out with oh gosh, I think it was the Angel Tarot.
Yes, it was right after Angel Tarot cards first came out. So that would have been 2014 or 2013, something like that.
Ooh, okay. We've been around a while, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Oh, and Mary's here, Mary Brown. Jump in, Mary.
Hey, Dad. Hey, Dax. Yeah, I remember those days. I was in the very first class based on those cards that you did.
Oh,
And
goodness.
yeah, and that was my first introduction to you. And I was just like, who is this magical man? Yeah, it was wonderful.
Well, that's very sweet.
It was really, really wonderful. And, you know, I don't know, many people of the world have, kept up and followed your work and everything. And in fact, I just posted my card of the week from your Angel Wisdom Tarot.
Oh, yeah.
And and I actually, looking at that deck and that card, which was the Three of Fire.
Okay.
But it's like, I felt like that deck particularly just had your signature all over it. And that you really, like, I don't know how to say this. I felt like I saw more of you through that particular deck. And I was just wondering, I mean, I know it's been a little while since that one came out, and you've done so many things since then, but I was wondering if you could kind of, tell me a little bit about the experience, because the deck works a little differently than your average bear tarot deck.
Yeah. So you're talking about Angel Wisdom Tarot?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So Angel Wisdom Tarot it came out about 2 years ago, and it was a deck that I did with an artist named Dan Craig. Unfortunately, not the one from the 007 movies. But a really, I know, right? But a really, really lovely guy, whose artwork I just cherished, and it was so much fun working with him. In fact, it was so much fun working with him that I did another deck that came out last October called Guardian Angel Messages Tarot, and I also used Dan Craig for that one because he was so much fun. And the thing about trying to create a tarot deck is that you're really challenged with artwork, because artwork takes a long time, and asking an artist to just do one image a week means 78 weeks. before
Mm.
you're done. Dan Craig was not only does beautiful artwork, but he's fast. And so we were getting 2 to 3 images a week out of Dan. And so that was one of the reasons why we went with him. As far as Angel Wisdom Tarot cards go, I love that Mary loved them because it is a lot me, and it was a departure for me in a way, because I had really, my vibe with tarot was basically that I wanted to take the harsh imagery and the difficultness out of tarot, traditional tarot, for the people who were too sensitive to, to deal with a guy laying face down in a pool of blood with 9 swords in his back. Some people just can't, right? I mean,
Isn't that the truth?
It's just so you can say this situation is over, right? And it just wasn't necessary anymore. And I have this belief system that as we, tarot is over 600 years old. It was dark times. A lot of people were illiterate, and so they spoke through the imagery of, that experience back then. And so now I feel like, we've reincarnated, because I believe in that, many times. We're much more sensitive souls than we used to be. We don't need that harsh imagery. And so my prior decks, like Angel Tarot cards and Archangel Power Tarot cards and Fairy Tarot cards, really walked away from most of the traditional harsh imagery in tarot. I felt like with Angel Wisdom, it was me actually sort of like welcoming back in, not the harshness, but welcoming back in some of the more traditional imagery of tarot. Just, I call it radified. It was, it just was through the rad filter. And
I love it.
So, yeah.
I really love that. You know what? Sometimes I have an active imagination, I guess, and I've actually imagined like getting a reading from you, right? And what that
in
would be
our
like,
dreams, we
and
do this, Rad.
in our dreams, right?
They're
Yes.
so sweet.
and I really thought about like, wow, you could give me the absolute worst news in the world based on the cards, and I would be able to accept it in a way that didn't hurt, if that makes any sense at all. And I think it's based on like kind of what you're talking about with your philosophy about the imagery, but also just that, I think that you have a compassion. I think that this isn't just because of some superficial, marketing reason or something. I feel like there's this just well of compassion within you. And I don't know if that's a question.
I don't know either.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and it is very, very, very kind of you. I very much appreciate that. I don't entirely know if you could say anything more that I would want to hear. We do, I have a team, we do marketing, but we don't do marketing as a design for my work. We do marketing that matches what I created. And that is for sure one of the things that I try to teach my students is, is to not read through a panic filter, to, and because it's like, if there is news, in all of my tarot decks, I never washed away tarot. I never did. It's like the three of swords is still there. It may be called the 3 of air, but it's there. And the tower may be called transformation, but it's still there. And its meaning is underlying in those cards. And one of the things I just try to teach my students is that no matter what the news is, it has to be presented. but it can be presented in a way where you terrify people, or it can be presented in a way that you empower people. And empowerment through knowing the truth is critical. And in fact, I'll give you an example, because this actually ran through my mind this morning. I don't know why. I guess I was supposed to say it here, but back in 2000, I think it was 2013, I was on a vacation. I was getting ready to go on a vacation, and I was concerned about my mother's health. And so I pulled a card for my mother's health, and it was three of swords, three of air. And I didn't like that. So I put it back in the
Put it back in the deck.
I put it back in the deck and shuffled again, shuffle, 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 shuffle. And I got three of air again, three of swords. And so I didn't like that. So I just put them down. And so I finished packing. And the next morning, right before we were walking out the door, I shuffle, 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 shuffled, and I pulled the three of air again. Now, for some of your folks out there who don't know what three of air is, I kind of call it the card of sorrow, but it also has a literal meaning of a heart attack. And within 5 days of my vacation, my sister called me and said, "Mom's had a heart attack."
Wow.
And so I picked up my deck as soon as we got back to the hotel. I just shuffle, 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 and I got the Tower. And so to me, it was like, okay, that's it. This is the end. And I don't mean to tell this in a sad way, because I was never so grateful to tarot in my entire life, because what the tarot did was it told me the end is coming, and get your ass back to Knoxville, Tennessee now. And because of that, I got to go talk to my mom. I got to spend a few days with her.
That's great.
I got to say goodbye. I got to I got, and you know, so many people, I'm actually getting angel bumps right now. But it's like so many people look at tarot and look at those cards like that and go, I don't want to know the truth. I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that my mother's life is nearly complete. And yet I'm like, why would you not want to know that? I mean, especially if you're close to your parents, it's like, why would you not want to know that the end is near, and I'm not, and I live 1,200 miles away, and I need to get home as fast as possible. And so, but there, you know, and if I were telling that story to someone else who had pulled those cards for, I would say, you know, I really think you should go be with your mom. You really should go be by her side at this time. It's a critical moment. You should be there in case there is something coming where you will have wished you had been by her side. We don't have to say, oh, wow, this chick's done. You need to go home. I mean, it's just not, it doesn't have to be told that way. And that's how I teach my students. I teach my students to speak that way. And I teach my students to look at the messages from the cards for themselves and for others from that lens that the universe adores us. And we live in this illusion called life, where there is a context of birth and death. And no one's been able to rewrite that program in the Matrix. That's just how it is. And so if we can just look at that within that sphere of the way life presents itself to us, and say, okay, I am not enjoying this particular experience, but I do believe that the universe loves me, and I do believe that I am meant to be on a path of joy, even if that path of joy leads temporarily through the garden of sorrow. I will still come out on the other side. I will still come out on the other side, and there will be joy in life, and there will be bittersweet joy from what I experienced. but that's how I view life, and it's how I teach my students to read tarot.
Wow. Wow. I mean,
Mm.
oh, you've said a lot with that. And I do think that, man, if more people had that philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
we have a funny way of not dealing with the
Mhm.
with with that very essence of life. That yeah, we're cycling through it, you know. But I also wanted to ask you about angels.
Yes, let's.
I yeah, I'll tell you, I have had a different personal experiences with angels than what I often read about. You know, there's we, you know, whether it's Thomas Aquinas or Helena Bingham, or it's, you know, uh, Diana Cooper, or, you know, if it's modern or if it's old or if it's whatever, it's like there's not like one thing that we can all say, yes, this is what you'll experience, or yes, this is exactly what it's like. And
You can't, because I mean it's like, first of all, Diana Cooper, the grand goddess, the grand the grand dame of angels. I love her,
me
absolutely love
too.
her. And you know, just to give you a, you know, you say it's like nobody's experience is the same. Diana, her whole angel philosophy is based on basically 7 archangels and 7
Yeah,
archaeas, the in essence feminine version of the 7 archangels, and their
yeah,
relationships, and their different colors, and you know, then the one that I do, which is 15 archangels. Some of them have a feminine energy, some of them have a male energy. And but you know, Diana, when people traveled, which
yeah.
when they
Way back
traveled,
when.
right? You know, it's like she and I would bump into each other all the time. And so one time we were at Angle Congress, which is in Hamburg, Germany,
Mhm.
and you know, so the event producer had decided that Diana Cooper and Radley Valentine were going to be on stage together and
Wow.
for a Q&A. And so I was nervous as a cat, and you know, and so the event producer, whose name was Greta called me and said, she's here and she wants to see you. And
Ooh.
I'm like, oh my God, I've been summoned. So I was so scared. So I went downstairs and to where she was, and I sat down next to her, and she said, I am so nervous to meet you.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what? And you know, and so we had this conversation where it's like, it doesn't matter if you're following the Diana Cooper version of things or the Radley Valentine version of things. It doesn't matter if you think Shamuel resonates in a pink color, or if you think Shamuel resonates in a pale green color. It doesn't matter. What matters is the experience that you choose. What matters, because the universe, it's like people just so want to put God in a box. It's one of the things that makes me insane. And
Yeah.
it's like the universe is so incredible, so divine, so much more than our itty bitty little brains can comprehend in the version in which we find ourselves incarnated in this moment. We can't
Yeah.
comprehend. And so to say that this version of angels is right and this version of angels is wrong is so ludicrous. I mean,
Yeah.
it just is like, that's putting God in a box. And
Yeah.
what matters, Diana and I totally agreed on this. It's like, what matters is either pick her version, pick my version, pick your own version, put them in a blender and mix them up. But whatever version you choose, it is your soul reaching out to the divine. And when you do that, the divine will reach back. And
Yeah.
it will reach back directly, or it will reach back through its sublimely fantastic, endlessly loving messengers called the angels.
Yes.
And you know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
there's 7.5 billion people on planet Earth right now. It is
Mm.
cray cray to say that everyone is going to experience angels the same way.
Right.
It might even be cray-cray to say that even two people will experience angels the same way. I'm
That
not
could
Yeah.
be. That could be. You know, I even say the same thing about tarot. I tell folks, you know, they're especially new students, they're anguishing over, you know, okay, what meanings and you know, and all
Yeah.
this. But this person said, I'm like, it doesn't matter. It matters what it means to you.
Exactly. I mean, I so agree. 100% I agree. You know, it's like I put words on my tarot cards. That's not common. And I do that because when I was learning tarot years ago, you know, I bought a deck that I liked and I bought two of them and I used a black Sharpie because it had a white border and I wrote what meanings the cards were in like shorthand all the way around. And that's how I learned. But, you know, I tell my students,
Yeah.
it's like, because a lot of my students come from Oracle card, the Oracle card community. That's where they come from.
Yeah, they think
Mhm.
tarot's too hard.
Right. And I just tell them, you know, it's like, I'm going to teach you tarot, but in the end, you can pretend that tarot is a 78 card Oracle deck if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
You know, you can
Yeah.
just start there. You will probably fall down the rabbit hole and fall in love with this. And that's when you'll go seeking out what the symbolism means and what the rest of it means. But, you know, I have students who are like Oracle card enthusiasts who are fantastic at it. And they come in and they sit down with like Angel Wisdom Tarot or Archangel Power. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. And then it just frees up. And I'm like, stop it.
Stop that.
Yeah. Mary, I think Brad was hinting that, you know, when we started, all of us studying, you know, basically Wade Smith had just come out. It was like 1909, 1910.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yes, I remember it well.
Something like that. Oh, you know what I want to ask Radley about, especially because, you know, you're so prolific with the decks of all kinds, is, you know, Mary and I talk about this a lot, how, you know, we're really noticing the resurgence and the how, you know, how tarot's going so mainstream. And I wanted to get your take on that. You know, where do you think all this is going? And is it going to continue to become more and more mainstream?
I think yes. I mean, it's like part of the reason why I think it's becoming part of the reason why I think that is, I'm not much of an organized religion person, so no offense to your listeners or to anybody, but when organized religion starts writing that they're panicking that people are using tarot cards more and more, that to me is like, yeah, here we go. It's like, and I just happened to read an article the other day that popped up, and it was a mainstream religion freaking out that more than 50% of people in the nation believe in tarot cards and oracle
Wow.
and believe in that, and they were flipping out in the article.
Wow.
And but I think organized religion is just on the way downhill. I just do. People don't want to be told how to live their lives anymore. They, you know, the church has failed a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And people just they don't want, it doesn't fit anymore. It doesn't feel good anymore. It doesn't, you know.
Well, you know what
people does, but you know.
Yeah. Well, what, you know, what I think is going on too is that we're coming into our own, where we're remembering,
Yes,
we are realizing that we are innately spirit. And so we don't, you know, like God, a lot of people will come up to me, even in person, you know. I'm a veteran, so I go to a lot of veteran service organizations and hang out with veterans, and people will come up to me and say, you know, I see your stuff online. I know you're spiritual. How can I be more spiritual? And I go, you can't. And they look at me with this dumbfounded look, and I say, you are spirit. You can't possibly physically be more spiritual than you are, you know. And I think what people are realizing is they don't need this construct, this human construct of these various religions, that they want to just be what they are. They just want to be spiritual.
I 100% agree. And, you know, I mean, the big secret that I tell my students at the very end of my classes is you don't need tarot cards. You know, it's like you can communicate with the divine, you can communicate
Yes.
with angels, you can communicate with your inner divine child. You can do all of that without these cards.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's
Yeah.
like one of the things that I think that happens is that people learn tarot and they put their faith in in the cards, which is, you know, it's okay. And, you know, it's okay to do that but I want them to be aware if they're doing it, because their faith needs to be in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the cards are fantastic. This path is 600 years old. Millions upon millions upon millions of souls have walked the path that is tarot. And I always explain it as being like, it's like a well-worn path through a forest. People are always going to pick the most beautiful path through any garden or forest that they want, that they can find. And these souls have found, they've well worn this path. And so it does have a connection to the divine. It's like so many souls have all agreed that this works, and so it works. But if you set aside the cards, I mean, I used to do this. It's like, I would go to an event and I didn't have any cards and they'd ask me to read. And what I would do is I just close my eyes and see what tarot cards popped into my head. And that
I've done that too.
Right?
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, that works. It does. It totally works. And I think, like, for me, the biggest part of this whole mainstreaming of tarot idea is, I guess what it is like, it's acceptance. It's like that feeling of acceptance. I think I don't know, you know, it's funny. I got into doing this, let's say, more publicly when I was working in Hollywood as an entertainment journalist. And it was funny that when I left Hollywood, I was like, okay, I'm going to try and do this tarot thing full time. And you know, my colleagues and even my boss, you know, were like, okay, what are you going to do now? You know, you could work anywhere, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm going to be a full-time tarot reader. And that actually somehow made sense to them. And they were like, that's fantastic. You're going to do great. And I was expecting, you know, the opposite, right? I was like sheepishly like, well, I'm going to do this weird thing here. and I was in the, you know, prior to that, a long time ago, I was in the Army for 8 years, and I used to do readings in the barracks for my friends. And, you know, they were accepting of that too. It was, but it was like that mainstream thing that you're talking about, like with the organized religions and everything, where it made me so nervous to try to sort of claim it, you know?
Yeah.
Right, because back then it was so different, right, Mary? Like 18 years ago, when we created the Tarot Guild, we didn't know tarot was going to become as mainstream 20 years later as it is now, for instance. And I think what's going on also with tarot is that not only is it like the training wheels for spirituality, but just the
I like that.
Write that down, Radley. But
write that down.
It's okay, I'll remember it.
Take it and run with it.
Take it and run. I just gave Rad his next book. No, no, but the other thing I see is that you know, people get into tarot, they discover groups like ours, the Tarot Guild, and this is replacing the community that people had to be in a church for before. You see, now they can be spiritual and be with like-minded people around a particular topic, like tarot, you see.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that this is coming up, because, I mean, first of all, I agree. I have the same sort of backstory as Mary does in a way, because, you know, I was, as a lot of people know, I'm a recovering certified public accountant. Okay, I was a
Mm.
and I was starting to do tarot as a side gig, as many people do, right? You know, while I still had my grown-up job, quote unquote. And
Mm.
you know, one day, you know, my last job, which was the worst of all of them, was because I think the universe was pushing me out, so it was just going to make me as miserable as possible. And so, for some gosh forsaken reason, I took a job as the head of the sales tax auditing department for a city. So,
Whoa.
yeah, I know, right? That's like, does that say I hate myself or what? But you know, I one day, my very best sales tax auditor, I mean, nothing got past her. I wasn't surprised. She walked into my office and she shut the door and she said, "I found your website." And I'm like, "Oh God, here we go." And she's like, "Can I have a reading?"
Oh, wow.
And it's like, one by one, my sales tax auditors made it to my office,
Wow.
you know, and so it's like, I think that energy that we're talking about has shifted. I think people are looking for something. But you know, I've just finished up a class that I taught called Launch Your Tarot Business, which is about all the business aspects of creating a tarot business. It was a ton of fun. But we just had the last class for that, which was just a bonus Q&A. And almost every question was, "I'm afraid to come out of the closet. I live in Kentucky.
Mm.
I live in Alabama. I don't want my crafting circle to know I do this." And that woman is a high priestess. I'm like, "Honey, what?" He's like, "You're a
Wow.
high priestess and you don't want your crafting circle to know. I think you need to leave your crafting circle." But
Yeah.
you know, it's like, that is still a significant concern, you know, as our country becomes more and more polarized, and you
Mm.
know, people are sinking deeply into either left or right or whatever you want to call it. You know, I feel like that's creating a situation for some people who really want to be exactly who they truly are, but don't feel like it's safe. And
Yeah.
you know, it's you know, I tell my students, it's like, you cannot adopt the name Mary Sunshine and put a mandala up for your picture and think that people are going to come to you for a reading. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, people want to connect with and trust other people, and that's who they're going to get a reading from.
They want someone that they know in their hearts from their divine intuitive gifts is authentic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
People are using those gifts every day, whether they know it or not. They walk in and they instantaneously like or do not like somebody.
A similar thing happened to me, you know, because I, you know, did all this promotion and have been doing the Tarot Guild for 18 years. I've been doing radio for 12 years, but on my personal Facebook profile, I never posted anything about tarot or anything at all. And, you know, I joined some of the veteran service organizations, the Disabled American Veterans, VFW, American Legion, about 8 years ago. I got more involved, you know, and I just started doing it. I just started putting everything on my page a few years ago, maybe a couple years. And I was hesitant myself, but I was surprised at the reaction I got from people. I'd walk into the post, "Hey, I saw such and such on your Facebook page. Can I get a reading?" Or I had another veteran, an old crotchety gentleman, you know, came up to me and I thought he was gonna, you know, and he said, "You know, my wife was a tarot reader before she passed away.
Aw.
And
Wow.
she hated it because I actually read the tarot better than she does."
Wow.
This is like a gentleman in like 75, 80 years old in the American Legion post, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I mean, it's only been it's embarrassing. It's only been like maybe 2 years that I've put any tarot stuff on my personal Facebook page, because all my Facebook friends are either old military buddies or or they're still working in Hollywood as like publicists and journalists. And I just think like, oh my God, what are they going to think of me? And they're still my friends.
Yeah.
Like, yay. They didn't desert me or run away. But, you know, we have to also, because we're talking your ear off because we can't help ourselves
Yeah.
because you're so wonderful. But also, people should go to radleyvalentine.com, right, to keep up with what you're doing. And
Mhm.
is that how they find out about the classes and stuff you do too?
Yes, absolutely. Go to radleyvalentine.com. It leads to all things Radley, including Rad Academy, my school, where my courses are. We're actually doing a big summer sale right now where things that are normally $200 are like $22
I
instead.
saw that. Yeah, that's
So, you know what?
Whoa.
Like, gasoline where I live is nearly $7 a gallon. You
Yeah.
know, it's like this is not the time to like, let me say it the other way. This is the time to provide people with tools for as low a cost as possible, because the economy is a little messed up. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's what people need right now is, I just want to go spend $11 and get a bunch of meditations that will help me in my life. Well, then go do it.
Yeah.
I have a new Oracle card deck, the first one that I've done in like 8 years, called the Sword of Archangel Michael Oracle cards. I was incredibly blessed to get Echo Chernik, an incredibly famous and amazing artist, to do the work for it. And that comes out in October. And in October, we are also going to be in Tampa, Florida, where we are going to do the angel event to be all angel events. And
oh wow.
Ooh, what?
What?
I cannot wait. I am so excited. It's like we are just going to blow the doors off, and it's going to
Wow.
be amazing.
Keep us informed so we can promote that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will put the word out for that for
Mary,
sure.
it sounds like I'm going to have to go over to Rad's website and sign up for a bunch of courses.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
all on
me
sale.
too.
I'm excited.
Summer school sale.
I want to go
Yes.
to Rad Academy. That sounds awesome.
Hey, and vice versa, we should invite Rad to come over and join the Tarot Guild, thetarotguild.com.
I
We'd
would
love to have you.
Anytime, anything, you know, anything you want to do, we would love it. And you know, this has just been so special, and thank you so much
Well,
for.
you both are just darling people, so sweet and so kind and adorable, both of you. So thank
Well, I hope
you.
you'll come back. I
Oh,
hope you'll come back.
Of course I will.
Yes. Yay!
Yay. Thanks for spending some of your Saturday with us, Rad.
You're very
Yeah.
welcome.